Starting tomorrow, for the first time ever, Illinoisans will be able to add their driver's license or state ID directly to their Apple Wallet. To get started, open Apple Wallet, tap the plus button, select driver's license or state ID, and follow the quick steps. Scan your card, take a selfie, and you're done. Apple and our office don't track when or where you use it. Your privacy is protected by design. Only the information needed for a transaction is presented, and you have the opportunity to review and authorize the information being requested with Face ID or Touch ID before it is shared. If a bar or concert venue only needs to confirm you're over 21, that's all they see. Not your address, not your license number, not even your birth date. Starting tomorrow, you'll be able to use your mobile ID at O'Hare, Midway, and Lambert airports, and at over 250 airports nationwide. We're also working with stadiums, restaurants, and retailers across the state to expand the number of businesses and venues accepting mobile ID in the coming months. This will soon go beyond Apple Wallet to include Google and Samsung wallets so that every Illinoisan with a smartphone can benefit from this breakthrough, regardless of their device.
I hope everyone's ready. It's finally here in the U.S. Individual states are going to start rolling this out. I'm sure they'll eventually force you to get it. Then they'll probably start making requirements stating that if you're flying from out of state into their state, you have to have this digital ID, or there won't be any way for you to get through the security checkpoints at the airport. This is how they'll start locking us down and keeping us from moving state to state. And we've got some really revealing clips today that are going to really spell it out just how bad things are about to get. But if you've just been sitting back and watching things from the sidelines for a while and wondering when everything's going to kick off, it just did. And don't be fooled by all this talk of convenience. You'll see in a minute how they started manufacturing everyone's desire for convenience. And it's so obvious, but barely anyone's going to notice how they've been slowly pushing us in this direction for years.
The end game of this is to have a society run by technology and artificial intelligence running the technology, which overrides human input and dictates the lives of humanity. And with AI connected to the human brain, so AI becomes the human mind.
In a lot of ways, it's kind of like a Fitbit in your skull with tiny wires.
At the moment, just human perception comes from information received. From information received, you form perceptions. So manipulating information received is how, up to this point, human perception has been manipulated. What they want is to have human perceptions come direct from AI.
Will you be able to save and replay memories in the future?
Yes, I think in the future you will be able to save and replay memories. I mean, this is obviously sounding increasingly like a Black Mirror episode.
People might say, oh, that's that mad conspiracy theorist bloke saying that. Well, actually, we'll try Ray Kurzweil, a Google executive, many others, but let's focus upon him.
That went along fine, but then something happened. 65 million years ago, there was a sudden violent change to the environment. We call it the Cretaceous extinction event.
He has claimed, or it's been claimed for him, to have something like an 80% record of correctly predicting coming technology and how it works.
20 years from now, we'll have nanobots. They'll go into our brain, through the capillaries, and basically connect our neocortex to synthetic neocortex in the cloud, providing extension of our neocortex.
It's very easy to predict the unfolding of technology if you know that that technology is coming, because you are connected to that level of elite that is playing out this technological control system called the smart grid. So we should take very seriously his contention that by 2030, which is a year that comes up again and again in relation to many parts of this human control agenda, by 2030, people are going to have their brains connected to artificial intelligence.
I'm never going to fully give up hope that we are somehow going to be able to stop this. And I'm never going to stop pushing back against all these control mechanisms they want to use against us. But it's starting to look like the writing is on the wall. I'm not giving up control of my mind and sticking a computer chip in it. I'm not going to be ruled by some AI government. I'm not going to just lay down and take any of this. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I'm single-handedly going to be able to enact global change or anything. It's going to take a whole heck of a lot more than any singular person. But I think at the very least, this will be fully rolled out, and it looks like they're going to meet their 2030 timeline. I'm just saying, I will not comply with any of this. But I'm smart enough to know what that means for me. They aren't going to stop until they have control over everything. And for those of us who refuse to fall in line, we'll be the first wave they dispose of. And I'm sorry if that's a little dark, but I always try to be as honest with y'all about what I'm thinking as YouTube will allow. It's just getting harder and harder to see this playing out any other way. I just thank God that I know where I'm going when that time comes.
Control grid's an interesting thing. A lot of people don't realise what they're involved in. Just the simple fact of using credit cards, using smartphones, and all of this automated system is the problem. People don't realise what it is. This system we're being led into is the New World Order in itself. The 5G smart grid is the New World Order, the Internet of Things. It's the New World Order. People don't really understand how that works, but what it's about is monitoring every single aspect of your life. The smart grid is being presented to people as this thing that's going to be highly beneficial to us. You know, you'll only be using the electricity that you use, you'll only be paying for that, all this sort of stuff. So it's been presented as a really positive thing. But what it will do, it will put a dollar value on absolutely every aspect of your life. So that every time you turn on a tap, the credit goes. Every time you turn on a light, every time you watch your TV, every time you boil your jug, every time you do anything, there's a dollar value attached to it. There's an interesting TV show that came out a couple of years ago called Black Mirror, and they had one episode of that where everybody, the only job they had was running on a treadmill or spinning a bike and just to accumulate credits, and they had to pay for every single action that they performed. And that's what the smart grid is. That's what we're being led into. And it's all about digital currency and control of everything. And if you're someone who lives a slightly alternate lifestyle, say you grow a few vegetables and you give some to your neighbours, or you do a little bit of massage for someone, or you do a bit of tarot reading or something like this, the only way you're going to be able to get paid for that once the smart grid comes online is through the transfer of digital credits, which means the government will get a tax. You'll have to put it on your income tax. Or everything will be monitored. That's what it's about, complete blanket surveillance of every single action people are doing. That's what the smart grid is. And it's being rolled out underneath everything else while we're arguing about all of these issues and being given all of these global conflicts and all of this theatre of politics to fight and squabble about. Underneath all of that is this smart grid. And it's rolling out very, very quickly. And the smart grid, the 5G grid, underlying that is the fact that the 5G system that they're using to run the smart grid, the Internet of Things, is also being used by the military. It's a military-grade technology. It's basically an active denial system. So the 5G grid not only will it track everything you do, it can be used as a weapon. It can be used as a microwave cannon. It can be used to disable people, to track people. It can see through walls. It can see what you're carrying, whether you're carrying money, whether you're carrying a weapon, all of this sort of stuff. So it's very, very evasive. Plus it does all sorts of damage to us biologically. You know, it damages our cell structure, damages the cell structure of all food, changes the cell structure of everything that it comes into contact with. And the 5G system will be a blanket system, blanket wave of communication. You know, we've got situations now where you lose signal on your mobile phone if you move too far away from a tower. That won't happen with the 5G. It will be everywhere, right across the country, in rural areas, everywhere you'll be able to get perfect signal. So everyone's going to kind of welcome this, but they don't realise what it is. It's about everything talking to everything else and everything tracking everything else. And also with the smart grid, it turns virtually every smart appliance into a surveillance system. There's been a new law passed in Australia where police have just been given the permission to tune into smart devices and listen to what's going on in people's homes. They can tune into your refrigerator. A lot of people don't realise your smart fridge has a microphone. They can tune in and listen to the conversations you're having in your kitchen. So anybody who's targeted for any reason at all, if they've got suspicions about anybody, they can just tune in, listen to their devices, their mobile phones, their refrigerators, their televisions, turn their cameras on, watch them through the television, all the stuff that they're doing. This is what the smart grid is. And this is being rolled out underneath everything. And we've got so many people distracted on so many issues trying to address the government corruption and all of this stuff. They're not realising that this is all rolling out. And in another 3 or 4 to 5 years, they're just going to wake up and go, what happened? How did I suddenly find myself in this digital prison? Because that's what it is. That's virtually what it is. It's a digital prison, a digital control grid. And if you want to participate in this society, you're going to have to participate in the smart grid. So we need to look at what it is and what it's going to be used for, and realize that the technology that we've got, we could use for our benefit. You know, all of this stuff could be used in completely different ways, in completely different directions. A smart grid could be used to the great benefit of mankind, and it's being presented in that way. But when you look at the people who are running it, the people who are running the world, well, the world's run by criminals, and they're not going to use this in the right way. They have no intention of it. Now, if you look at some of the white papers they've put out themselves, papers that have been put out by the Pentagon recently that talk about federal vision for future computing and the nanotechnology grand challenge, and they talk about this 15-year plan they've got to roll all this out and eventually hand it all over to AI to control. And when we get to that point, then we've got the entire human experience being controlled by a machine, which will dictate everything according to an economic value and dictate everybody's value according to their economic worth. So this is a very, very bad situation for mankind to be led into under the guise of convenience and making our lives easier. It's really not going to do that at all.
I just wanted to step in here real quick and give everyone a heads up. This clip is a bit of a long one, but he's just about to get to the meat of it. That big revelation that I hinted at earlier. He's about to expose how they've been conditioning us for years to make us actually want this. And I wanted to say, if there's any part of this video that you're going to devote your undivided attention to, this should be it.
Well, they're doing it through the Internet of Things is how it's all being rolled out, you know. And basically, what is essential for the whole thing to happen is digital currency. They've got to digitize currency, remove all cash from the system, and you're getting that here in Denmark. We were discussing with people today. You can only ride the trains. You've got to pay for it with your mobile phone. What if you don't have a mobile phone? And if you don't log on, you've got to log on to the train, and then if you don't log off when you get off the train, it keeps taking your money. And suddenly your account is been depleted because you forgot to log off when you get off the train. Now, they could make all these sorts of things convenient. Now you could pay for that and it could just gauge your trip. You didn't have to log off. But they do that so that it depletes your account so that people want the smart grid. They make all these inconveniences. They put all these systems in place and make it inconvenient for you. You could forget to log off. You could forget to swipe your card when you leave the train. So suddenly all your money's gone. So they put these situations in place to make people want this grid to come online. Recently, when I came to check into the United States, I got to the passport counter. 16 counters there. 2 of them were open. 4 aeroplanes arrived, 1,200 people waiting to get through. 2 passport counters. Took us 2.5 hours to get our passports stamped. Because that way you want the retinal scanners. You want the smart grid. It's much more convenient. So they make it inconvenient for you all across the world. And people don't notice it. They just think it's hard to do things and they want it. They welcome it. And meanwhile, they're focused on all these battles and all these theatres of politics and all this stuff that they think is the problem. Because they think they can address it. They think we can vote people in, vote people out, whatever. Put a new figurehead up there that will do the right thing for us. But underneath it all is this grid. And that's how they're going to do it. They just make it very, very inconvenient for you not to participate in the smart system. And so much easier when you do. And so people welcome it. You know, and that's the way it's going. You know, a lot of people are going to welcome this smart system. A lot of people are going to welcome instant communication. They're going to see it as a way to free the world. And like I said, it could be used to free the world, but it's not. It's going to be used to lock down the world because underneath it is the surveillance system that is the smart grid, and underneath that is the weapons system that it can be turned into if you don't comply with the smart grid. And it gets to the point where if you do decide not to comply, you become a dissident, they can simply switch you off, switch your chip off. And once it's all digital and you need that chip to get into your car, to get into your house, to access your bank account, to buy things, it's all automatic. Suddenly you're locked out of the system. So there's no hope of dissent. There's no hope of free thought. There's no hope of questioning any of this. You just have to simply go with the flow. Because in the smart grid, there will only be 2 types of human beings that they're really concerned with. The smart grid will only, because it's going to be run by AI, it'll only look at 2 types of human beings, those that are desirable and those that are undesirable. And that's it. That'll be the 2 classes that you're in. And where you are in the food chain will be measured according to your economic worth. You know, that's another important thing people need to look about AI and what is going to be running the system, is the fact that it's judging everybody according to their economic worth. It's putting a dollar value on everything, and all you've got to do is go and analyze a corporation to realize it's a psychopath. So when you've got a system that is putting an economic value on every human life and every human action, this is a psychopathic system that will discard people if they cannot pay for every action they perform. And life was never supposed to be like that. But you know, they'll just do it through the convenience and do it through making life so inconvenient for people if they don't participate. And they're doing it here, they're doing it everywhere. Every country that I go to, I can see elements leading towards a cashless society. And it's being done under the guise of convenience, but that is the catalyst that's going to hold it all together. This is why I encourage people to use cash all the time. I don't shop with credit cards, and I don't own a smartphone. And that's a hard thing for people. They run their lives off their smartphone. I still use a laptop, an old laptop with an old Windows installation on it. I don't use Windows 10. Any of these new surveillance systems, I just don't participate in it. You know, that's the only way we're going to stop it, is by people not participating in it. But unfortunately they are, because they want their life to be more convenient.
This clip made so many things make so much sense to me. Just think about it. Everything we do on a daily basis seems like it's specifically designed to make us feel inconvenienced. You go to Walmart and they've got 30 checkout counters and only 2 cashiers actually checking people out. You go to the DMV, even if you schedule an appointment, it takes 3 hours to get out of there, and all you're trying to do is renew your driver's license. And we can all sit there actively in the moment while we're experiencing these frustrations and see how these systems could be improved upon, which just makes us more frustrated, because you're standing there wondering why they don't just hire someone with an actual brain to fix all this stuff. But it's all being done intentionally to make us feel the inconvenience. That way, when they roll this stuff out, everyone's going to immediately jump on board. And you can see the confirmation of that if you go back and watch that first clip that I opened the video with and listen to the guy talking about how convenient it is if you happen to have a digital ID when you're going through the airport in Illinois. It should have been so obvious. I just hope people realize before they all start signing up for this en masse. Hey, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to drop your theories and your comments in the comments section down below.
The Canadian government is now calmly laying out the case for euthanizing children. A brochure in Manitoba with the heading "Made for Children in Teens" explains how a special committee of MPs and senators has recommended allowing euthanasia for what they're calling mature minors. Even more chilling, it states that parents might not be consulted and wouldn't need to give consent. Right beside it, a section on "Made for Mental Illness," reminding us that while 1 in 10 Canadians waits over 4 months for counseling, the wait for MAID is only 3. This isn't a one-off mistake, it's the logical outcome of a system that no longer views death as a tragedy but as a treatment. In February 2023, a federal parliamentary committee officially recommended expanding MAID to include minors who are deemed capable of making such a decision. Their report concluded that age alone shouldn't determine eligibility for assisted death. Instead, it argued that some minors are competent enough to request their own deaths, effectively removing any meaningful age floor. Dying with Dignity Canada, or DWDC, one of the country's most influential advocacy groups on this issue, has gone even further. They've urged Parliament to lower the MAID age to, quote, at least 12, claiming these children should be presumed capable of making decisions about their own deaths, just as adults are. In Quebec, things have already crossed into dystopia. Provincial guidelines now allow doctors to administer MAID to patients who are unconscious or mentally incompetent as long as they previously gave advance consent. In defiance of federal homicide laws, Quebec prosecutors have even issued directives to protect doctors from prosecution. The slope is no longer slippery, it's vertical. Then there's Dr. Ellen Wiebe, one of MAID's most prolific practitioners, who has personally ended hundreds of lives. She describes the work as incredibly rewarding and brags hundreds is good. She avoids calling it euthanasia, reserving that term for pets, and instead prefers the sanitized label of assisted dying. This is how evil enters quietly, with sterile language and bureaucratic indifference. We've replaced compassion with convenience, therapy with termination, and healing with death. And now, the state is preparing to offer it to children.
I feel like this is the greatest example ever of the government showing us how they truly view their citizens as worthless, disposable trash. I've got such mixed feelings about what time we're living in. There's so much evidence pointing toward us actually being in Satan's little season. Because what could make sense out of this unless we're living in a world that's completely under the thumb of Satan? But whenever you look at how they intend to roll out this digital ID stuff, how it's planned to be implemented by putting a chip in our head and trying to control all of our thoughts, I don't think I've ever seen a better contender for what could potentially be the mark of the beast, especially whenever you hear how they intend to use it, that without it, you won't be able to participate in society. But that would put us before Satan's little season. But either way, with the direction things are headed in, I don't think I've ever been more convinced that we're in our final days.
Doing this is about to become illegal. That's right, Wall Street is working on prohibiting filming your kids at sporting events. This is reporting by The Lever, quote, Black Bear Sports Group, an emerging youth hockey empire and the largest owner-operator of hockey rinks in the country, is among the private equity-backed companies that are amassing a chokehold on recording and streaming youth sports. At Black Bear-owned ice rinks, parents cannot record, post, or live stream their kids' hockey games online. Per official company policy, according to staff at those venues, some rink attendants said that they will confiscate attendees' recording devices if they find them. Confiscating phones, banning parents from filming their kids playing sports. Like, what are we doing here, America? Well, evidently, Black Bear is trying to get parents to buy their streaming service that costs between $25 to $50 a month just to watch their kids play sports. Just out of comparison, Netflix is like $17.99 a month, okay? Now, Black Bear Sports Group, the company that's buying up all the local sporting facilities, is owned by a private equity firm called Blackstreet Capital. The CEO is this guy named Murray Gunty, and he used to also work at Blackstone Group. You know, the company that's buying up all the houses and killing the American dream. Yeah, that one. Somebody wrote this in a recent review saying that Black Bear Sports Group is a business that, quote, acts like they care about youth sports. Every rink they buy up to add to their monopoly ends up neglected and run down. They're driving the price of youth hockey way up while rinks are breaking down, not sure what they're improving with all the money they're stealing from players' families. People ask me all the time, what does evil look like? And I would say it's guys like Murray Gunty, people that you've never even heard of but are doing everything they can to just line their pockets while at the same time destroying humanity.
I just put this in here because I felt like it was a really good example of how literally everything we do in the future is going to have a cost associated with it. They won't even let you film your kids' sports games anymore because they can't monetize your home videos yet. And before long, the government's probably going to start doing the same thing at parks. Or they'll let BlackRock or some other big corporation buy up all the parks and playgrounds and allow them to start doing this same thing there. This stuff is getting ridiculous. And once they fully roll out the digital ID, they'll probably figure out a way to start charging you for taking a video of anything at all. Besides charging you for the energy usage, they'll probably start charging us for literal data created. Like, sure, you can film your kid's birthday party, but choose your shots wisely because you've got 500 megabytes worth of data today, and if you go over it, that's 10 more carbon credits. Just how much money do they think they can squeeze out of a human being? This is insanity.
What do we have now? We now know with peer-reviewed study that bees are testing with 70 times more aluminum in their system than what it takes to cause Alzheimer's or dementia in a human being. It's a wonder any of them are alive. 70 times more. And this is important as well. When you have somebody from some agency who's paid to lie, who tells you it's normal to have aluminum everywhere because it's a very abundant element. That is a lie of inaccuracy. Aluminum is very abundant in the environment, yes, but it does not exist in the environment in free form. It doesn't exist in free form. It must be mined and refined and sprayed for it to be scattered everywhere in the environment, and that's exactly what's happening. It's not just the bees that are dying. Every single one of us is being contaminated. These materials are bioavailable. They're building up in our systems, and it doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. It doesn't matter. It's a fact. We have the lab test to prove it. There will be no hiding this issue much longer. And what does it appear? The chemical signature for what's showing up in rain tests matches coal fly ash, a substance that the EPA has told us is not harmful. They've been trying desperately to get rid of, and it seems to suit the purposes for geoengineering, and evidence is increasingly indicating that toxic coal fly ash may be one of the base materials they're using to spray because it gives them plausible deniability.
I remember hearing people scream about chemtrails and stuff back in the early 2000s and thinking that they were all nut jobs. I was unfortunately one of the many who were at that time buying the government propaganda, and whenever I saw someone screaming about this stuff, I just assumed that they were lunatics. I just figured they were a crazy person who had nothing better to focus their attention on. But man, have these people ever been vindicated. And the more you hear about what they're doing to our environment, the darker it becomes. These people are literally going to destroy the entire planet just so they can have control over everything. But that says a lot about someone's personality when being one of the richest people in the world, literally being able to just go out and obtain anything your heart desires, and being at the very tip of the economic food chain just isn't enough for you.
A former Campbell's Soup Company employee is taking legal action against the food giant, and he's making some explosive allegations about one of its top executives. Good evening and thanks for joining us at 6. I'm Ty Steele.
I'm Kimberly Gill. Those allegations are now at the center of a lawsuit claiming the company's vice president went on an hour-long tirade attacking the company's products and employees before taking aim at its customers.
And the former employee recorded it all. Eric Erickson shares that recording and what the company is saying about it.
We have shit for poor people. Who buys our shit?
And that's just part of an over an hour-long rant, says former security analyst for Campbell's, Robert Garza of Monroe.
I don't buy Campbell's products barely anymore. It's unhealthy. Now that I know what the in it, even in a can of soup, I look at it, look at meat, bioengineered meat. I don't want to eat a piece of chicken that came from a 3D printer. You?
The recording allegedly of Campbell's VP and Chief Information Security Officer Martin Bally.
He has no filter.
Bally, along with another supervisor and Campbell Soup Company, named in a lawsuit filed Thursday. The suit claiming Bally made racist remarks, admits to coming to work high, and Garza fired for coming forward.
What do you think about the things that he was saying?
Oh, just pure disgust.
Garza says he usually worked remotely for Campbell's headquarters, based in Camden, New Jersey. But thinking he'd be discussing his salary with Bally, he says the recording taken in person at a restaurant.
They couldn't think for themselves. I'm like, you dumb fuck.
Garza says he felt sick after the rant, deciding to go to his direct supervisor in January, keeping the recordings to himself.
He had never had any disciplinary action. They had never written him up for poor work performance.
Garza says no one at Campbell's ever followed up, and it's taken him 10 months to find a new job, calling the way the canned soup company handled it simply terrible.
They have a motto, like we treat you like family, here at Campbell's, come work for us, we treat our employees like family. That's not the case.
We did just receive a statement from Campbell's. It says, quote, if accurate, the comments in the recording are unacceptable. They do not reflect our values and the culture of our company. We are actively investigating this matter. We've also reached out directly to Martin Bally.
That reporter is seriously going to sit there eating a can of their chicken soup after listening to that recording? That's hilarious. But I just wanted to spread awareness on this. You would like to think that the big name companies are the ones using better quality ingredients. Obviously not, though. But I just wanted to give everyone a heads up so that everyone knew to stay away from this stuff while we still have the option. It won't be long before that's the only kind of meat we have access to. But guys and gals, I'm going to go ahead and end the video right there. I'm sorry that this video was so bleak. Don't shoot the messenger, though. I'm just doing my best to try to keep everyone informed on what's coming our way. But I hope you all enjoyed the videos we watched together today. God willing, I'll be back tomorrow with another one. I hope you come back to join me. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to drop your theories and your comments in the comments section down below. But guys and gals, I hope everyone has a great, safe, fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you all tomorrow.